We're out at Charles A. Ring Park with my boy Charles.
How you doing?
Charles is what is the term? Nomadic BJJ?
I used to put it that way, yeah. Up until COVID, I lived on the road, teaching jiu-jitsu seminars, wandering around and training, meeting people, and been doing that for the better part of 2 years. And that was what I wanted to do, and I just kind of started traveling. And at the beginning, it was just learning and training, and then slowly it became getting to teach. And then I got hooked up with BJJ Globetrotters and got to teach at their camps. Got like a small little sponsorship. And then after a year of doing that, I got back to Gainesville and was like, I think I want to keep doing this. I think I like this better than my previous life, and the rest is history.
I think when I met you, you were a computer engineer, was it?
I was probably, I think when I first met you, yeah, I was probably a software dev. I used to work for Infinite Energy Natural Gas Company here in town, and I was a software developer for them. I played a lot of hats at that company. I still love the technical side of things. In fact, during COVID, I've kind of stepped into it a little bit, like playing with relearning some programming languages and stuff. So like I've always kind of had broad interests. But yeah, that used to be the life. I did a bunch of jobs over there. I really enjoy solving problems. Like I'd say probably problem solving and teaching are the two things I love the most.
Do you think that's why jiu-jitsu kind of clicked with you? The solving problems aspect of it?
It really does. I mean that, and I've always been into martial arts my whole life. So like the mind-body connection has been there from a young age, and solving a problem of a person trying to do something to you is actually very similar to solving other problems. And a lot of the heuristics from software development transfer to jiu-jitsu as well. Like a good example would be algorithms, right? In software development, you don't reinvent the wheel every single time. If someone has a way of sorting something or a method for searching for something, you just reuse and call that method. In jiu-jitsu, you don't do an armbar differently every single time.
Yeah, it's the pathway to that.
So like, your entries might change, the way you combine code might change, but you have little algorithms that you're going to reuse. But then you have a broader structure. It's like the same way that I kind of organize things in software development or other things. Jiu-jitsu follows a similar pattern, and then it allows you, the software developer or practitioner, to focus on the bigger picture rather than focusing on these little details every single time.
Do you think you're going to be able to get back on the road, to get back on the mat?
It's weird right now because like you kind of can, but it all depends kind of on your appetite for risk, I suppose.
Agreed, yeah.
Because
so I was training for about a month over at MatLife.
Yeah.
And this would have been, what, May, June? And the contact isn't, like, there's a lot of contact. Jiu-jitsu, I mean, you're sweating in people's mouths on accident. I mean, there's just, you're rubbing everything everywhere.
Jiu-jitsu is 100% not a social distance activity.
No, not at all. So but the people the classes were definitely smaller, and it kind of weeded out the wild group of guys or girls that would come in. But the more I thought about it, I don't know if it's really the best. I had to take a step back. I mean, I broke my rib. It was just in transition. You know, there's pressure from the top, and I was trying to
ribs are the worst,
like roll out. And I thought it'd be fine after a week or two, but if there's, why do I need to get back on the mat? At this point, it's like just.
Unfortunate that you broke one. I've bruised them many times. I think I may have hairline cracked one, but I never got the X-ray.
Oh, you could feel it too. It was like...
But I've never actually made a full snap. But they're not a pleasant thing to injure.
No, breathing is hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it was on the right, on one of the bottom parts of the rib, like lower rib cage. So it wasn't horrendous. I think it's because I've had broken bones before. I'm like, it's no big deal. Just gotta rest.
Yeah, I've been actually pretty lucky. I haven't broken too many bones. I've been more of a soft tissue damaged person. I've definitely torn ligaments and tendons, but the bones they've held up. um, but it's just the reason why I say like your appetite for risk is like there's ways to make it safer, but I think at the end of the day you kind of have to trust that your training partners have been minimizing their circle, because even the thing about jiu-jitsu is like you don't need a million training partners. So like if you can narrow your training partners down to a small number of training partners, then it just becomes a matter of like, okay, these people that I've been training with,
you can make it one.
Do I believe that they have symptoms? Do I believe that they're sick?
Even if you wanted one training partner, and then certainly not at the white belt level. Good morning. But if you have some understanding from blue up, you're like, okay, we're just gonna work on this, or hey, let's go easy, or
well, I think with Natasha, and she's a white belt, and so, but like because I have experience, we can guide the practice together and keep things very organized. But like, I think that then again, like I'm quarantining with her, so not really much of a extra risk there to be training with someone who you're quarantining with already.
Yeah.
But I've definitely laxed it. In the very beginning, I was very much staying away from everywhere. I really was keeping my circle super small. But as the months bear on, it's one of those things where how long are you gonna fully isolate? And so I think most people, even the most stringent people I know, like unless they live with someone who's elderly or feel that they're in contact with people that are high risk, have at least slackened off a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that like I'm going to raves and concerts and but at the same time, I definitely am seeing more people now than I was after Hurricane Maria, and so everything was just falling
turned around. Yeah.
It was hard to get through the pass. Gainesville's got a lot of beautiful parks.
It does. I spent so much time in the restaurant that I didn't really, like, all I knew was that 2,000 square feet. But now I'm just out and about.
It's funny you say that, because even with all my travels, that was actually something that I realized, because I can get obsessive about jiu-jitsu, is that like I'm traveling the world and I'm really just seeing different
blue
colored
mats.
mats. No, some places have yellow mats.
Yeah.
Or black mats or gray mats.
Yeah. Or
And
puzzle,
then,
or
exactly. Different qualities of bathroom
and a texture.
At Thailand, the gym was outside, and you were boiling at all times. So like, there's definitely something to be said about seeing all the gyms, but getting out and smelling the roses, seeing the nature here is really special. And like, we have so many, and we're in a very small town. Like, we're 15 minutes drive, like end to end. Like, you have a great jump off point to get to Tampa, to get to Jacksonville, to get to Tallahassee, get to Orlando, Daytona, St. Augustine. Like, there's so many different places, like you said, within an hour and a half, 2 hours of here, that it's kind of hard to get bored if you're willing to take little day trips all the time.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Which goes back to what you, in the very beginning, like that's kind of how I started my jiu-jitsu traveling, was just visiting jiu-jitsu schools that were within 2 hours of Gainesville. Like, that was the beginning of my, which is kind of what makes it hard about this situation, is like, that's all, the worst thing that I can do right now. Like, if anyone has the potential to be like a super spreader in our situation, like it's me. Like I totally could be
full contact with people in different cities every day.
Yeah, I mean, at the peak of my travel, I was literally in a new city every day. And so that's just unfortunately not acceptable right now, unless I go somewhere. Like, the original plan before the borders closed on July 30th was to get my COVID test, hop on a plane to Iceland, teach jiu-jitsu, teach at BJ Globetrotters Iceland, and then I had a gig in Kazakhstan, get retested before I enter Kazakhstan, and stay there for 2 months.
Yeah.
That was the plan, but then the EU decided Americans weren't welcome, so then I couldn't go to that, and then Kazakhstan closed their borders down and decided to go back a phase and restrict physical contact. So both of those plans got canceled. But I've seen gyms that have done really forward things, like they have the UV filters and lots of hand washing and soap, and checking people's temperatures. So those are all really positive things. And so I think it's just a matter that most of the spreading is symptomatic. I'm not a doctor, but I think that a lot of people kind of have to figure out where the risk level is, because some places gyms are open,
Yeah.
some places aren't, and it's different state by state.
Yeah.
So it's a weird time, because like I haven't really been doing all that much, and a big part of it is like there's guilt. Like I don't want to resume my life and end up hurting anybody, you know?
Exactly.
And so, and then on the other hand, it's just like, but the gyms are open and I'm not sick, and so it's really hard to strike that balance between what you know you want to do and then like the feeling of obligation and almost duty to not do something that's negative for your whole society, you know?
I checked on the Globetrotters website this morning. They're having competitions or seminars in, I think, September.
No, sadly that one just got canceled. I mean, there's one in Austria, I think, going on either right now or soon, because Europe is opening up contact, because Austria, at least, the cases are going down. Most of these places, in order to get in, you have to have a negative COVID test to enter. Just like how the UFC is doing Fight Island, like you have to have a negative COVID test to get in. Just like these big shows, like you just had Who's Number One happen, and two of the headliners, Craig Jones and Gordon Ryan, couldn't compete because they tested positive for COVID.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and just even before that, the UFC, Gilbert Burns tested positive, but then it might have been a false positive for him, because then he immediately tested negative afterwards. So then there's the hard part of like, I don't know if he got over COVID in 3 days. I think that he had a bad test, but they can't take any risks. So it's a weird thing. Like even right now, Austin has Grappling Industries, and I really want to go, but I don't know. Like I don't want to be irresponsible. I don't want to catch anything or give anybody anything, but at the same time, like it's that hard part about like what's legal and what we should be doing. So like in some states, doing these things is illegal, and other places doing things is legal. So then, okay, well now we can't just trust the law, so we have to figure out what's right. So it was all this pollen came out, and I started sneezing.
Yeah.
And sneezing during COVID is like everyone looks at you like, why are you out of your house? I'm like, but it's flowers, and this happens to me every year. Like, oh, and I know I'm sneezing inside of this mask, which feels horrible.
Yeah. I've noticed how much more I should be brushing my teeth with the masks on. Like my breath is not the freshest.
I've been making sure to also like clean the thing, because like the first time I sneezed in a mask, it was like, dude.
Do people think about that? Like generally, like you think?
I didn't think about it until I
saying.
sneezed. Like I've been using the same mask for a couple of weeks, and then I sneezed in it. I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense to keep wearing that thing.
Yeah.
Because you don't reuse your tissues.
No.
So. Then again, I guess people used to reuse the handkerchiefs all day as they glue their nose.
Yeah.
I always wondered about that. But I don't know. It's a weird time for sure. But it's just so different from place to place. That's the crazy thing. Like, 'cause even like, I don't know. I think that the hard part is I don't know that we're really equipped to take in all this information. Like, I haven't really I know a few people who like have made it their personal quest to really understand what's going on and read all the news and listen to all the things. But I think most of us just kind of get what we get. It's confusing.
Yeah, there's not a clear, concise, this is what needs to happen. Because even from the higher, how do I say this? Even from the highest up, they'll say one thing one week, and then the next week it's a completely different, mask, no mask, 6 feet, don't do so. Like, it's
that's the funny thing, like I'm perfectly cool with wearing a mask inside of a store and wearing a mask when we're in close quarters, but in an outdoor situation with sunlight, with ventilation, when I'm in a very small group, I tend to feel less crazy about it.
I agree, yeah.
Like, it's one thing if you're crammed into like a grocery store, but I'm not.
I feel awkward about it with the video, because when I do these walks with people, we don't wear. I mean, I give the option if people do, because I also have the little lavaliers. But
this is why it's the weird thing. Like, I think everyone, like, I don't know. I'm kind of similar. Like, I brought a mask, like, just in case.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like,
I've never made it this far. Do we turn around, or is it?
I think we exited the ring. So there's a ring, and then there's kind of like little offshoots.
Oh, okay.
So what I used to do is I used to take my one wheel here, and I used to skate this place. Situations where, like, right, we're not at a crowd of 100 people. There's 2 of us. We're walking outside. There's lots of air ventilation. I guess, right? Like, I could randomly sneeze on you, right? I could get some pollen on my nose and sneeze on you. That's possible. That could happen. But I don't know. It's a weird thing.
It's been interesting to see the stereotypical Karen, you know, people freaking out about you taking my liberties because I have to wear a mask. Like, it's odd to me that that's where they go. Like, it's not that difficult to just put a mask on.
I think I don't even know. I think that, like, everything kind of gets pushed to the extremes. So I don't know that, like. I also find it interesting that, like, the phrase Karen has entered, like,
the vernacular.
I mean, it was already kind of there a little bit, but I think it's entered, like, a real commonplace in the vocabulary of people right now. Whereas I don't know that it was as common as it was become in the past 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
But even that, like, I'm not going to protest about wearing a mask. Like, I think if I want to enter a store, or if I want to do it, like, go in any sort of closed place, I think it's reasonable that I wear a mask. I think that's perfectly fine. However, like, if I go to the beach and I'm in a wide open field, I don't exactly know that it's.
And there's just you. Like, when they say you have to wear a mask, dude, there's no one on the beach. What are you talking about?
But I think it's also, like, the rules are so different everywhere. Like, and truthfully, my view on that is, like, if I come to your town, I should obey your town's rules. Like, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
And so, like, if I'm gonna want to go to this beach, and this beach is in this county, and this county has this ordinance, then we're gonna comply, or we don't have to come. Just like, and that's kind of, I think, a very reasonable thing. Like, if a shop decides that, or even a restaurant, that I need to have a mask off and on in order to be inside, then
I always harp on no shirt, no shoes, no service. That's simple. Everyone understands that.
Yep.
So why can't you just add, like, if the business has these rules, just follow them. Like,
well, I don't. You don't have to follow them.
You don't have to shop there.
To not go to that business.
Exactly.
Like, and so I think that if these people feel so strongly about it, like, that's kind of fine. The issue is, like, it's just a matter of kind of deciding where that line is. That's really, but I don't know. I think to some people, like, we're just as bad, because right now even though we're on an HE trail, we are out of our homes and we don't have a mask on, so we're breaking with what we should be doing. I don't know, man. It's a really weird time, and I just try and be considerate. So, like, we're outside, we've passed the guy twice, and we both kind of just moved to the side, let him have space, and, like. And in a park this big, I really don't think that our chances of infecting him are super high. But I think that's the other thing. Like, what the hell do we know? Like, what do any of us know? Like, I remember with the breaking point, I think, for Gainesville, because I remember it happened overnight.
We're social people. We need interaction.
I think that's probably why Zoom took off so much.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I loved it. Like, my family had some events, and, like, truthfully, I don't live in South Florida, so, like, I would have missed those events previously, even though I had these access technology. But because Zoom has become so popular during COVID,
you can just put it up.
I got to be part of those events, and it was actually really nice. So, but that being said, it's not the same, right? Like, as great as Zoom and Facebook and Google Hangouts and all those things are, I don't know how many times I've had miscommunications via text message just because of the wrong intonation. And, like, after all these years, I finally got on board with emojis, because I'm like, oh, they're actually a tool. In my head, I was just like, I don't
like kid drawings or something. But now,
that's exactly how I treated them in the beginning. But then I was just like, oh, this allows me to show you the tone of my sentence. Allows you to show me
or like the smirk face when you know it's going to be like a sarcastic something.
Or like even just like after my sentence, just using little like I use the hell of laughing face because I say a lot of like ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need you to know that I'm being ridiculous on purpose.
Yeah.
Like I don't mean the stupid thing I just said.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be funny. I might fail, but that's where the attention was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know. There's a lot of little things. Same thing with like, even just like, I got like not obsessive, but like because I was home all day, like I was cooking for myself and like cooking every single day. Then eating out as frequently as I was. I think I enjoy that feeling of like putting exactly what I want in my food.
Yeah.
It was just a great feeling, but then also like getting into like cooking shows and stuff like that and being like, I wonder if I can do that. And like, obviously I'm not gonna like have Iron Chef quality food, but the idea that I can even put something that's like a close to what I just saw on TV or on whatever show I'm watching is still kind of a cool feeling. And just learning little things like, oh, if I put a little bit of like pickle juice with my rice, that actually changes the flavor in a way that now it goes better with this. Like, oh, that's really cool. Like,
Yeah.
I know that sounds very weird, but I've been watching like anime cooking shows. A bicycle, like I knew how to ride a bicycle, but I'd never learned how to like, you know, just riding a bicycle like because you can, and then like those people that like you can feel like the bicycle's attached to them, like that feeling of comfort. I never had that before, but just doing laps around the neighborhood, suddenly, holy crap! I think I'm comfortable on a bicycle, and like I think that this feels like a different way now, and now I enjoy this versus because I actually had one of my friends from here in town, Erin, she visited me when I was in Germany, and we went traveling together for a week, and she absolutely loved the fact that I was horrible on a bicycle. Like I was uncoordinated.
Because people would think breakdancing and jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and that's just like, I never did a lot of bicycling as a kid. Like I was always doing karate and soccer and other things. I never had much free time after school to like get into trouble on a bicycle, and so it wasn't a skill that I had, and she was absolutely relishing in my lack of coordination on the bicycle. And so I was really proud to be like, that's over now. I have gained coordination on bicycles. Just like a lot of just time to enjoy simple things instead of being in such a rush. So like it's definitely made
I completely agree with you there.
this simple life.
Not so much of a rush.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine for you because right, like being a chef in a kitchen is one of the most stressful things there is. So I imagine for you being able to.
It's just time with my kids. That's mainly like
time with the family is a crazy thing.
Yeah. I'm getting chills right now, even as we talk about it.
It's. I think a lot of people got that feeling of like, wow, we can do this. We can actually relax and enjoy life together. And truthfully, for me, because I was traveling already, like my cost of living is really, really low. Like. Before COVID happened, the longest I've been at any one place was I spent 3 weeks in Tel Aviv with some friends there. But other than that, for the past 3 years, maybe 2.5 years, the longest I've been in any one place was Tel Aviv for like 3.5 weeks. Other than that,
That's
was
insane.
Constantly moving. Like most trips were 1 to 2 weeks, but sometimes it was even shorter. Like there were times when I was just going city to city to city to city, and the weird thing is like humans adapt to everything. So like. I got to the point where like
That's the normal.
That's the normal, and so like being asleep on a bus or on a plane is normal. And like my most productive place was like the airport lounge or the train. And so then like being in a regular house, like I actually find it really hard to focus. Like I'm trying to work on Photoshop or edit video or doing whatever I was doing, and it's hard to focus because I'm not a cut for a shot and how to edit things. And
That's been so interesting for me, trying to figure out how to do all that stuff.
yeah, it's even like which program you're using matters a lot. Like what are you trying to do? Are you focusing on being a professional? Are you focusing on ease of use? Like what is it? How obsessed do you want to get with this thing? Because like there's a quote I used to, you know, stop saying used to. I am like a big dork, so I read the biography of Miyamoto Musashi, and there's a quote Well, it's not really a doc. It's a book about him, but because it's such an old figure, it's clearly legend. Like it's not. There's debate of whether or not he was a real person. I think there is like, but whatever. It's definitely a bit. The tale has been stretched a bit tall, but the phrase is, "Once you know the way, you will see it in all things."
Yeah.
Right, and so like, I'm definitely seeing that, like, because as a beginner in jiu-jitsu, like as a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, I genuinely believed, oh, I figured this out. I've got it.
Yeah.
And then years later, I feel like, because my eyes are being opened wider and wider, it's like how big this art is. The well goes deep and deep and deep, and now I'm obsessing over the tiniest little things. And so,
Like, you're not born a black belt,
it doesn't
right? Like,
need
you
to be
have to
perfect.
make the progression to get somewhere.
And the thing is that, like, I still struggle with it, because if I see a glaring flaw, I'm like, why are we doing this? I should do the whole thing over again.
Yeah.
But it's just like you said. I think that people enjoy seeing that progress. Like, if people enjoy what you're doing, and they look at video 1, and they're like, ooh, but they look at video 25 and like, wow,
Damn,
look how far he's come.
Yeah.
Like, because every
And
single
then
time.
they have a connection towards you, and then a year down the road, they're like, dude, I've been watching him from the beginning. Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
There's an investment to watching you grow, which I think that a lot of, good storytelling. So I've always loved telling stories. Good storytelling has those elements. Like, I had a friend, and they came to Gainesville. They visited from Iceland, and like they were just shocked at just the amount of life that we have here. Like, because in
Dude,
Iceland, they
yeah.
don't have like.
They don't have this. Yeah.
Well, it's just exactly that. Like,
It looks like Predator 1 in here.
but also, like, when you go around Iceland, it feels like you're on Mars. Like,
Yeah.
it's absolutely gorgeous, and they do have some animals, but not much. Like, you're not going to run into like a random thing that's going to bite you in the woods, and they don't really they have mosquitoes, but not like we have mosquitoes, you
Yeah.
know. So it was just really interesting to see that. And then later on, when I got to go to Iceland, I was like, oh, this makes sense, because it's just a different set of things trying to get you out there. Like, they have the cold, which is trying to kill you, and we have every little thing that's walking in the forest and jungle and whatever you want to call this place, swamp.
So I grew up in Seattle area, in Bellingham, Washington, and going out in the woods there, I'm not really afraid of anything. Probably because I grew up there.
Well, because also maybe you know
I grew
what
up-
there
yeah.
is to be worried about.
But when I moved here, dude, everything frightens me. And when I'm walking through these woods and I hear a little rustle, I think it's a snake.
But even if it's a snake, like, I think the big thing is to remember, like, we're not really the food of choice for many things.
But when you're afraid, that's not what you think about. You know?
Oh, I know. But like, it's constantly a battle, right? Like, between pieces of you.
Yeah.
There's the emotional piece of you. There's the logical piece of you. Like, they're all kind of doing wars. Like, who gets to drive the car at any given moment? And so, like, you gotta have the logical piece, because the logical piece of you will get you in trouble sometimes. At least, like, for me, when dealing with people who are emotional. So, like, because all people have emotions, but if I'm looking at you like, it doesn't make sense that you're angry about this, that doesn't have any effect about how angry you are at something.
Yeah.
Like, telling someone, ooh, check out the koi. You get it from this angle, you can see there's a big bunch of them down there.
So I didn't even know the history of this place. The plaque out front.
Yeah.
The guy, Alfred Ring, he why am I trying to blank? He was a doctor from Germany that immigrated to the States back in the 30s and 40s. And after being a doctor, he became a land real estate agent, like developer here in Gainesville. And his second wife died, and he donated 15 of the 20 acres that makes this place up because she liked flowers. That's so beautiful, dude.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you can leave a legacy.
Yeah.
I always found it amazing, just like the amount, because if you just look at the Google Maps in Gainesville, there's so many little green spots, and they're all open.
Yeah.
For you just to wander around.
Yeah. I've been through 12 in the past 2 weeks. Like every day I just go to another one and I just get lost in it. And working on my video, like even stabilization and holding it. So I've got 3 different cameras, and then how to hold them is different, because this one's a little bit more smooth, but then I've got a GoPro that I'll get a little bit more action with. So it's quicker when I turn it around and then be like, dude, look at that. So it's fucking fun.
Yeah, I got the, what's it called? I can't pronounce it. It starts with an X. It's Chinese name, Zhijun Smooth. But I had a hard time using it as a gimbal. And I have a friend who has a tinier one, but I've mostly been using mine in stills to shoot jiu-jitsu technique videos, and I've done a couple of interviews, but my interviews, I purposely made them all audio just because the Google Recorder app is pretty amazing right now on the newer phones.
Okay.
It automatically transcribes everything for you.
Oh, wow.
So your podcast becomes an article, or if you want it to be.
Oh,
Like
okay.
instantly, you just have to go through and check anything, because obviously
There's some
talking
yeah,
jiu-jitsu,
yeah.
there's going to be some words that Google isn't going to recognize.
Omoplata. Like, what?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it might, because
Yeah, no, as I'm saying, yeah. I was gonna say Kimura, but I'm like, no, there's got to be.
But like, it's just more of, I think, like sometimes everyone enunciates a little differently. We mumble. Like,
Yeah.
But I've been really impressed with how good it actually is. And like, you inviting me to do this is like reminding me, like, I've taken a bunch of interviews. I should probably, just like you said, put them out. Like, there's the feeling of wanting to make things perfect that is very useful in some endeavors, but
I teeter on all the time because I like the rawness of, like, I always joke with people, like, my favorite part of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was the bloopers episode.
Yeah.
Because you're so used to it being polished, but then you see them all just joking around and being silly with it. So my thought is, I'm either gonna put this completely unedited out, but then it's really boring. So, well, I mean,
I don't know.
it's a certain person that would find it interesting.
I think that's exactly it, but I think that's kind of what you're going. I guess it all depends, right? It's your choice what you're going for. If you want to make a polished, tight, like heavily edited thing, well, there's a large amount of investment that goes into editing it, and there's also something that's lost there because, well, what do you edit out?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm leaning more towards In the Hood, Ring Park with Charles Harriott, completed, edited, and then In the Hood, just raw. So having
both.
Yeah,
because you're an ambitious man.
Well, I mean, if it's unedited, it's easy. I just put the whole thing out, because all you have to do is just hit upload.
Oh no, I'm with you on that, but I don't know. I wonder if I guess it could be one of those things where like people watch the edited version, they're like, and then it's like the deleted scenes, so to speak, if they want to watch the unedited one.
But it wouldn't make sense for me to do the unedited first. Like, I'm back and forth between it, and then I'm thinking about like compiling them. And
I think these types of things are really good, at least the way that I've consumed them, right? Like when I first started listening to like the Joe Rogan podcast or Hardcore History, any of those longer podcasts, is they're great for either while you're cooking, or
driving,
while you're driving,
yeah.
long trips. And so when you're just gonna, like, for me, I used to drive from Gainesville to South Florida pretty frequently, and so
you put a JRE in, and 1, 2, and then you're good. Yeah,
3 of them, they're gone. But I also like, there's that, but then there's the entirely opposite thing, right? If you're listening to like Hardcore History,
he puts in the work.
He puts in work, and it's like listening to a movie, which like reminds me of when I go on Audible and listen to audiobooks.
Yeah,
because there's some really beautifully done audiobooks.
I almost think it's better than movies sometimes.
Well, because your imagination is more vivid than the movie, and they don't have to worry about time constraints.
Yeah.
Because the problem with movies sometimes, well, there's 2 problems. Like, one is sometimes the director doesn't agree with the person who wrote the book, and so then the vision's kind of muddled. Yeah. And then other times, there's only so much you can do in 3 hours.
90 minutes, or exactly.
And I think with Lord of the Rings, it happened both ways. Lord of the Rings original books are so long that they really didn't fit into the 3 hours. But then, like The Hobbit, they stretched that one book into 3 movies, and it really did not need to be 3 movies.
Yeah.
Some of these rivers, I don't know if this one as well, they apparently have shark teeth in them. I know it's not this one. I'll have to ask Natasha about it.
No, I've heard it's Ring Park, and then Loblolly. Yeah,
Loblolly is the other one that that we went and we were picking up shark feet. I do think that, like, especially in this time, like, secluded nature is kind of the thing, especially, like, it's like 11 something in the day on a weekday. You're not going to run into too many people, so you're not
Yeah.
getting a lot of traffic, and it's this fresh air definitely is something special. It's like each step that I've taken in stepping outside of my comfort zone has made the next one easier.
Agreed.
I did study abroad when I was in sophomore year of college,
Mhm.
and I was fine until the day it was like step on the airplane and go to Spain, and I was freaking terrified. And like also, back then a flight to Spain was very expensive. Like the airline tickets have gotten so much
cheap.
more affordable these days.
Yeah.
But back then a round trip ticket to Spain was like $1,400.
Yeah.
And I was feeling guilty about like how much money was being spent on it. And then I was like, a piece of me was just like, it's immersion, so my Spanish was actually horrible at that time. Like I didn't really speak Spanish all that well. I'm like, what am I doing? And I did it, and like ever since, on purpose.
Yeah.
And my Spanish was bad enough that like I didn't know how to properly ask for food, like, and I literally was just getting hungry, and I didn't read the like.
Dime, you didn't know Dime.
Well, they gave us this massive packet about what the homestay program, and of course, I think I was like 18 or 19 at the time, I didn't read any of it. So I didn't even know if my homestay was supposed to feed me or I was supposed to go out there and buy food for myself. And so like she kept on, every day I came home from school, so like the first 3 days, she kept on saying like very quickly in like a heavy Castellano accent, like "Haz comido." And I was just like, what the heck is she saying?
What do you want to eat?
Well, but I didn't know what she was saying, because like I had only been spoken to like if you want food, or like in like a different, I'd only learned like 1 or 2 ways to say that. So I'd heard like "quieres comer,"
Yeah, like
other,
slowly.
and other phrases. And so "has comido" I had never heard before.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what the hell is she saying?
Yeah. All I'm hearing is the N word, comida, comido. I'm like, okay, I can piece it together.
I didn't,
but yeah, if you don't know,
it's "has comido," but with the Spanish accent, it's almost like "as." It almost becomes a TH.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't, and like I might be butchering, she might not even have had like a theta on that one. But this was a long time ago, and I'm sorry, Maria. But after like the 3rd day, it clicked, because I was hungry, and like she loved cooking. She was a great cook, because it was a homestay family, and so it was the mother, Maria, and 3 brothers. And they all lived there, and then there was a woman from Michigan, who was also on study abroad there.
These fucking spiders, man.
Oh yeah, the banana spider. Is it? No, that's not banana spider. Where's that guy? Is it banana? Can't quite tell.
I see them everywhere.
But I've usually seen, when I see bananas, they're usually a little skinnier. That guy is thick thorax there in the bottom.
Yeah, man. Because I'm not paying attention with the camera, and I walk into them all the time.
Yeah, you're a little bit taller than me too.
But now it's like I want to do this.
Yeah.
Like, as a blocker.
You're the shield. But finally, when I understood, we became best friends. Like when I was like, no he comido, I haven't eaten, and she just came and she just kept feeding me. And I've noticed that like people who like to feed get along with me because I like to eat. And so like she put out food after food.
Like more?
And she was like, "¿Quieres más?" I'm like looking like, is it okay? Like, see? She's like, okay. And, and we made best friends, and I got lucky that her son, he had just quit his job. He was a chef at like a really nice hotel in town, but he didn't like the hours, and so he had just become a firefighter instead. So he could still cook at the firehouse, but he was able to have hours where he could still see his friends, because he was getting really lonely with the hours of being a chef at a nice hotel, and you're not getting to see his friends and socialize. And so he had switched his jobs, but he was still bored, because obviously like he'd been cooking for a while. And so they took me through an entire like wealth of like traditional Spanish cuisine while I was there, and I loved it. I had the most amazing time. But the entire time he was like testing me, because he had this theory that Americans were stupid. So he'd like hit me with like random American trivia from time to time. Like, what's the capital of Vermont? Like out of nowhere.
Montpelier?
Yeah, it is Montpelier, yeah. I too was a nerd in elementary school. But But it was a great experience. And then I found out that like apparently one of my classmates, she had a homestay mother who was just doing it for the money. And she didn't feed her. She just gave her like saltines and bread and water.
Yeah.
And I'm getting like 5-star meals every night. And she's sitting there like literally starving. Like, and like there's two groups. There was the advanced group in Sevilla and the junior group in Santander in the north of Spain. And so like, she's literally like barely has enough Spanish to communicate and buy things. And like starving every day, and I'm sitting here just like, I love Spain, everyone's so nice.
I went to go visit a girlfriend one time. She was doing a homestay in Grenoble, France.
Yeah.
And her host mom was similar to Maria. She's just cook all the time, amazing food. And I just started working in restaurants, so we went to the market and I made some food for him. But I mean, I spoke 7 or 8 words of French.
French is hard, man.
But it was just the experience. I would have never met that lady had the homestay not been an option, you know?
Exactly. I think to me, like that's one of my favorite ways. Like I learned so much Spanish just in those 6 weeks of being in study abroad.
Yeah.
Compared to the 3 years of high school and the 1 year of university. Like there's
present continuous, you know?
Yeah.
Conjugate this verb.
Well, other thing is like the local speakers don't speak that way about Spanish.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to mention, like, they purposely put us with people whose English wasn't good enough, so, like, they can't translate for us.
Yeah, I had that same thing in Thailand, because no one spoke English. I mean, even the English teachers wouldn't speak English with me. And so I would, stereotypically, I watch Sesame Street in Thai.
And I think that's
and
the
I
best
watch
way
the
of
mouth.
learning.
I watch the mouth move.
Yeah.
Because that way I see how it actually, the sound comes out. And so, like, I have an audible, like, a visual and an audible. So I see how it's turning in their mouth. And I picture the way the tongue is moving. And that way I process it differently.
Oh, to catch the different
tonations.
tones.
Yeah, because Thai is 5 tones.
Yeah, I didn't even try. I was in Thailand for a short amount of time that I was just like...
Flyers, yeah. All right, that's the loop.
All right.
Thanks, y'all.
Peace.